Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today I'm going to explain a 2023 Malayalam romance adventure film titled Velati. Have you ever wondered what it's like to see the world through the eyes of a dog? If so, then this is your chance. A dog is seen fidgeting around the house, trying to get out. He rushes into the garden to take a leak and runs up to Roy, his owner, who loves him like his own son. Tommy is a well-bred Labrador with champion parents, and everyone tries to get their female to mate with him, but Roy is adamant on finding only the best of the best. Roy, the canine matchmaker. Forget the bachelor, we've got the bachelor right here. While having a snack at home, on the TV we see that street dogs have wreaked havoc in the neighborhood, attacking innocent children and bystanders. Looking at this, a private group of people have decided to take action over it. Roy promises Tommy that he'll not let anything happen to him as long as he's around. Later that day, Tommy approaches a rooster, and while having a casual conversation, a cocker spaniel named Amalu walks by. Tommy seems to be smitten by her beauty and thinks about her all day. He goes out every time she's around just to catch a glimpse of her. Tommy's in love, proving that even in the dog world, it's not about the breed, but the bark. As a few days go by, Tommy finally gathers the courage to walk up to her. He shows her all the tricks Roy has taught him, and Amalu seems to be impressed. Just as she leaves, she confesses her feelings for Tommy. If only human relationships were this straightforward. I like you, now let's sniff each other's butts. In the next scene, Tommy is seen imagining their life together. Ah, the classic rom-com montage. I guess dogs have relationship goals too. #dog goals. They run around in fancy attire, get married with the support of both their families, go on their honeymoon together, and play around all day at the park. Amalu also seems to be head over heels in love with him as she stares at him from her house too. Every night, Tommy sneaks out of his house and jumps the compound wall to meet the love of his life. As a few weeks go by, one night, Amalu's owner spots Tommy and isn't happy about their affair. The old lady is seen complaining to her daughter Vedika that since both families belong to different religious backgrounds, they can't have their dogs procreate. Because apparently, dogs need to follow a specific religious path before dating. Her father agrees with this ideology and decides to go have a talk with Roy. Back at home, Roy is seen teaching Tommy how to open a door on command. The neighbor comes over, and an argument ensues, with both of them claiming that their dogs haven't done anything wrong. As a punishment, Amalu is locked up in her cage all day. Vedika feels bad about this and decides to let her free, but she doesn't seem to be responding well. Panicked, they call the vet home, who claims that the dog is pregnant and will deliver soon. While playing in the garden, Tommy hears this and runs up to her in joy, but the neighbors get into another argument. In anger, Roy locks him in his room and tells the maid not to let him out for a week, fearing that he might even be poisoned due to the incident. Vedika decides to take Amalu away to live with her and her fiancé the next day so that she can have the freedom she deserves, not knowing that her real desire is to be with Tommy. The rooster overhears the news and approaches Tommy outside his window. He is informed about the decision to move Amalu, and the rooster convinces him to sneak out and meet her one last time. Tommy unlocks his door, goes up to Roy, apologizes for his behavior, and even covers him up with a blanket. He sneaks out the back door, jumps over the wall, and finally meets Amalu. The both of them are devastated that they'll not be seeing each other anymore, and so they decide to run away together until the kids are born. Tommy unlocks the cage, and the both of them sneak out of the community without anyone noticing. On the other hand, a dog catcher is seen patrolling the streets. He gets out of his van and torments an innocent mother dog before capturing her and driving away, leaving the puppies to fend for themselves. Early next morning, both families look for their pets all around but are devastated to find out that they have gone missing. Tommy and Amalu, being home dogs, struggle to cross the road. Starving at this point, they approach a few strangers at a restaurant but are shooed away. In fear, they flee from the area and take shelter by a dump yard. Looking at the mother of his kids hungry, Tommy decides to do something about it. He sneaks into a restaurant, steals a bone, and is chased away by the chef. When presenting his findings to Amalu, she is disgusted by it as she was raised in a vegan household. A few moments later, an old stray dog walks up to them and decides to help them out. He instructs Tommy to pick up a vessel, and the both of them walk up to a temple serving free food. Taking pity on the dogs, the servers offer them rice and curry which all three dogs eat to quench their hunger. The stray dog tells them that if they decide to live on the streets, they will not be given food every day and will have to sleep hungry most days. That night, Rohini, a street vendor, is seen walking home. On her way, a Rottweiler named Bruno stumbles upon her. As he's planning to attack, Tommy decides to intervene and help out the woman. All three dogs come forward and drive away the evil mutt, saving the woman from dangerous injuries. The stray dog advises Tomy and Amalu to go along with the woman as she'd definitely give them some food. Rohini tries to shoo away the dogs as she's poor and barely has enough food for herself, but the dogs keep persisting, so she decides to take them along with her as well. Once they get home, we are introduced to Simba, an indie dog living with Rohini. The three dogs get acquainted, and Simba advises them of all the rules they need to follow if they want to live there. He also tells them of how Rohini's son abandoned her, after which she adopted him and named him after her son. Rohini feeds the dogs some rice for the night, and the three fill up. Early next morning, as Rohini struggles to start a fire, Amalu fetches her a pipe to help out, impressing the woman. A neighbor shares some of her food for the dogs, and Tomy gives it all to Simba as a peace offering. This act of kindness leads to the start of a wonderful friendship between the three dogs. In the following scenes, they play together on a seesaw. Tomy teaches Simba his tricks, and all of them even work together to steal some fish. As days go by, the dogs have the time of their lives together with Rohini. Late at night, as she's working, Tomy even cleans up the litter, impressing everyone around. Back at home, both Roy and Vedika are seen missing their dogs and putting up messages to try and locate them. Roy even approaches the police with the matter, but they don't seem to care much about the issue. Tomy and Amalu sit by the beach talking about how they can return home as soon as she delivers their baby, hoping that the humans would let them be together after. The next morning when Tomy wakes up, he is surprised to see that Amalu isn't next to him. Simba and him go out looking for her, but unfortunately spot her being abducted by the dog catcher. They chase after the van, but to no avail. They lose track of it once it gets to the main road. Amalu is caged and taken to a kennel with many other well-bred dogs where the owners perform medical experiments on the poor mutts. They also reveal how they've been injecting the dogs with steroids and making them more angry so that they attack civilians, helping them continue with their experiments. Tomy starts getting depressed thinking about what might happen to Amalu and his kids. Simba remembers meeting another dog who faced the same incident, so they decide to inquire with her about the location where the dogs would be taken. The dog claims to have no idea. She only remembers being spayed and let back out onto the streets, and advises the two dogs to use their most powerful tool, their nose, to track down the scents of the van. Tomy and Simba start sniffing around and run all over the town trying to find the location of Amalu. As they continue with their search, they are interrupted by Bruno once more, who still seems to be pissed about the previous incident. Tomy tells him that he doesn't have time for these shenanigans, and the both of them flee from the area, but Bruno gives chase. When they reach an abandoned building, Bruno falls into a large pit that he isn't able to get out of. Knowing that leaving him there is the same as giving him a death sentence, Tomy takes pity on him and rolls a drum into the hole to help Bruno get out. Bruno apologizes for his behavior and tells them the story of what made him so ferocious. As a puppy, he was adopted into a family that loved him very much. He was the happiest and kindest dog back then, making everyone around more joyful with his presence. Unfortunately, one day while he was being walked in the park, he got distracted by a butterfly which caused the old man to fall to the ground. Due to the injuries, the old couple decided to move in with their kids, and since Bruno was getting too hard to take care of, they gave away the dog to a young man who turned out to be the evil dog catcher. This man took it upon himself to turn this innocent dog into a ferocious one so that he can participate in caged matches. He trained him hard, gave him pills, and injected him with different chemicals to turn him violent. He even drilled a hole in his mouth and stuck a shock collar on him so that he'd be more obedient to the new owner. On the day of the fight, Bruno is unbeatable, and all the other dogs run away in fear. When he was showing off his powerful dog, Bruno uses this opportunity to attack him and run away from there. Well, that escalated quickly, from butterfly admirer to canine MMA champion. After that incident, Bruno started to hate all humans since he thinks they are bad, but Tomy convinces him that there are good humans too, just like his previous owner who loved him very much. Back at the kennel, Amalu is being prepped for a medical experiment. Another dog explains to her that they inject them with something after which the pain is unbearable and all they'll want to do is sleep. Amalu is terrified with what's about to happen, but she is sedated and taken into the operation theater. Bruno decides to help the two in their search for Amalu and tags along with them. As the three roam the streets, they spot the dog catcher in his van. Bruno immediately recognizes him, catches a whiff of his scent, and runs after him. As Tomy is crossing the road, a speeding truck is on the same course, but Simba pushes him out of the way and gets injured in the process. Simba says his goodbyes to Tomy and tells him to save Amalu no matter what. Soon after, he dreams of Rohini and passes away. Rohini wakes up from a bad dream, and knowing something terrible happened, she looks for her best friend. Tomy and Bruno get to the kennel and enter to find many other dogs trapped and treated inhumanely. Just as they are about to inject Amalu with the drug, Tomy bursts in and chases away the evil scientists. He convinces Amalu to gather her strength, and they both get out of there. On their way out, they are cornered by the dog catcher. But just then Bruno comes to the rescue. He attacks the evil man and finally ends his wrath by chewing him to bits. Bruno, the action hero. Move over, John Wick. We've got John Bark in the house. Tommy uses this opportunity to free the other dogs, who work together and get their revenge on the scientist running the place. On their way out, Tommy starts getting familiar smells, but Amalu isn't able to walk anymore, so they rest there for the night. The next morning, as the local vet is on his routine jog, he spots the dogs and their litter. He takes them in his car, and the both of them are finally reunited with their respective owners, who decide to keep the dogs together and raise the puppies themselves. One rainy night, as Rohini walks home, Bruno approaches her once more and heels in front of her. As she continues on her path, Bruno follows her back to his new home. At the army base, many bred dogs are known for their bomb-sniffing abilities. Just then the marshal tells his colleague about an injured dog his squad rescued from the streets. The dog turns out to be Simba, who's now the star of the Indian Army. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.